And one major thing that you have to take into consideration is how do you vet the operators who are going to be running that asset? Because I know you get a lot of people coming to you saying, hey, can you sponsor this deal? Hey, can you be a capital raiser for me? And you probably say no 9 times out of 10, if I had to guess. And so it's like,
Absolutely.
so you have to vet those people who are coming to you. And as an P, if you're just a passive investor, you also need to vet operators for when you invest your hard-earned money into the deal. Welcome to the Ironclad Underwriting Podcast, where precision meets performance in commercial real estate. I'm your host, Jason Williams, and every week we deep dive into the strategies and systems and stories behind rock-solid underwriting. Whether you're a seasoned analyst, an up-and-coming investor, or a commercial real estate professional looking to sharpen your edge, this show is your front row seat to expert insights, emerging trends, and real-world underwriting tactics that stand the test of time and scrutiny. From market assumptions to debt structuring, cap rates to cash flow, we're cutting through the noise and getting to the numbers that matter. So sharpen your pencils and fire up those models. Let's get to work. This is Ironclad Underwriting. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Ironclad Underwriting Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Williams, and I got my co-host here, Frank Patalano. How are you doing, Frank?
Hey, not too bad. It was great hanging out with you recently in person, and now back to work, right?
Yep, back in the office. So this one, I think you might have more information on, but as you go in like your multifamily investing career or practice or whatever, a lot of times you'll partner with somebody who has a deal and you'd be like a capital raiser or something or investor relation role or what, or sometimes, I mean, as an LP, you want to learn how to invest in a property or whatever. And one major thing that you have to take into consideration is how do you vet the operators who are going to be running that asset? Because I know you get a lot of people coming to you saying, hey, can you sponsor this deal? Hey, can you be a capital raiser for me? And you probably say no 9 times out of 10, if I had to guess. And so it's like,
Absolutely.
so you have to vet those people who are coming to you. And as an P, if you're just a passive investor, you also need to vet operators for when you invest your hard-earned money into the deal. So this episode we'll be going to vetting the operator.
Yeah.
You ready? You ready?
Basically, we're looking into the general partners in the deal. Would you invest with those people? In 2019, I did something similar to this. I tried to diversify outside of my home state, and I ended up calling about 40 different operators or general partners throughout the country just to meet with them, learn about them, ask them a bunch of questions. So this is right in my wheelhouse, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, people come to me all the time to sponsor their deals too. Um, and right now, so far, I've declined 10 out of 10 times. I haven't really found like the needle in the haystack deal that I would do that for. I do sponsor my own deals, but I haven't sponsored anybody else's deals yet. So I don't know if I'm more apprehensive about dealing with people or what, but oh, you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's go.
So probably as a GP, LPs always want to know, or other investors want to know, what is the operator's track record, right? This is like the first thing you want to know. And if it's a big player, a lot of times their track record is out for the public to see on their website. You can go to their website, you can see all the properties that they've had, all the properties that they currently own, the ones that have gone full circle where they bought it and maybe refied it and then sold it and got out of it. And on those cases, you will see a lot of their return metrics. Like, hey, this one we did a 18.9% IRR and a 2.3x equity multiple or something like that. Um, and the reason why they do that is because honestly, you don't know what the IRR is until after the property is sold anyway. So,
I mean,
um,
numbers obviously are important. If they have a big organization, they can have people, keep updated with that and figure things out. Um, as we know, there's a lot of deals that look good. There's a lot of deals that look very nice on paper, but when reality it's different. And I wouldn't even say it's always because of the operator. It could be a number of features, but some of it is that them. I mean, this is an underwriting podcast. Some of it was that their underwriting was way off.
yeah.
They were way too easy with the numbers. They weren't conservative. They were the opposite.
And I've also seen numbers that look good on paper. They look like they could have been reasonable, but then the operator ended up dropping the ball, and that's what made the deal go south. And so maybe I should have done a little bit better job of going through these, what we're going to be going through today, and out vetting the operator whenever I first got in and got into those bad deals. Um, I think another thing for the track record is where, and this is sort of what I've talked about before, where you want to concentrate on like a single market or like just a handful of markets, depending on how big you are, before you start branching out. And if these operators have like five complexes all in the same submarket, you probably know that they know that submarket really well. If these operators, the same operators, have a property in Phoenix and San Antonio and Houston and Cincinnati and LA, I can almost guarantee you they don't have a handle on any of those markets, and who knows how those properties are doing.
As someone that tries to be market agnostic, I mean, we definitely are in a lot of markets. I can see depending on the operator. So what I try to do is I try to build with local teams. So I mean, I'm still involved in the operations, but like my deal in Idaho, we have one team that focuses on that area. It's just like
Yeah,
in Texas. I mean, I'm with you guys on every deal that you're in Texas because I consider you guys the local operator. So I mean, if they're looking at me, yeah, I am all over the place, but you have to look at the whole team. So
yeah,
if you're looking at a team where you see two people that are solid, that are local to the market, that are consistently doing things in that market, then yes, that's a good sign. That's a positive.
yeah. Another um, thing to look at is what asset classes are these operators working in? Are they all, well, one, are they all like multifamily, or are they self storage and multifamily? I know some operators who do self storage, multifamily, car washes, and probably industrial too, if I had to guess. I don't remember right offhand. But are they concentrating on a single asset class, or are they branching out in that regard? Even if it's in the same like location or market, are they in the same asset class? So, and then on top of that is what class of that are they investing in? Class C and B and A properties? Or are they just only investing in C or B? So I mean, all of this stuff comes into play because you and I both know a class B and a class C operate almost completely differently. I mean, there is some overlap, but they are world worlds apart, I think.
No, absolutely. Um, Back to the concept of track record. I mean, what I think is important above everything else on this. I mean, I don't care if they're in different markets. I don't care if they're in different asset classes. I like the idea of talking to past investors. That's the most important thing to me because even if you're a property that's not doing well, but if you're doing the right things and and talking to your investors and they know what's going on, there's always benefits to that.
Yeah, and really, I think it all comes down to what size is the team that's doing it. So if you have a big team with say 100 employees or whatever, yeah, you can have like sub teams of people who concentrate on car washes. You have sub teams who concentrate on self storage, and another sub team that concentrates on like multifamily. So you can have like 20 people on each of those little sub teams, and you have a 100 people company. But if you are probably like the majority of us right now who are either just starting out or are still just growing, you might have 5 people on your team. You really can't branch out like that. I don't think so. I mean, everybody only has so much bandwidth. There's only 24 hours in a day, and you can't concentrate on one asset class or one market the same way you can do on all the other ones. So there is going to be something taking precedence. So
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I'm saying that so I have a friend that's doing something a little different right now, but he's still focused in the same state. And even if it's a different asset itself, it's still in his wheelhouse, and he's still willing to travel out there and do things all the time. So yeah.
yeah. So
So important things to verify. Obviously, getting speaking to investors that have been on past deals is super important to me.
yeah, and I think right off the bat, yeah, that's going to be hard to find. A lot of times, the operators aren't going to share that information. Sometimes they will, or they might share like a friend or somebody who's had a good experience. But if you can find out on your own who invested with them, you would probably get a better understanding of what it's like versus if they give you a list of references, basically. Because I mean, whenever you apply for a job and you have your references, you always pick the people who are going to put in a good word for you. You're not going to put in the person who you hated and you had to dread seeing every day and they hated you as a reference. So I mean,
Well,
there
that's definitely true. At the same point, it'd be a worse if you can't find anybody that's willing to say good things about you.
that is true. So if you are on, say, if you were watching a webinar or you are talking to an operator, what kind of questions should you be asking, like during an investor call, or on in your case on like the discovery call, whenever they're trying to convince you to join their team to be a sponsor or a capital raiser slash investor relation?
I mean, the first question I would always ask is, tell me what you've done in real estate. There's a lot of people that haven't really done anything that they're doing for me that are doing like their first raise. They found their first deal. And so the next question, if they really don't have a good answer to that, it's like, well, who did you study under? Where did you get that education from?
Yeah.
You know? And then obviously you want to hear that out a little bit. One of the next things I ask, and I'm not sure where you're going with this, but one of the things I ask is who's going to be boots on the ground for this deal? you know, um, I really want to know who that is because I had a deal that somebody wanted me to join recently, and the closest person lived a 6-hour drive away, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't work. And he's like, well, I can go there whenever, and unfortunately, I've seen many times where that doesn't happen.
Well, you've seen many times where the people are 30 minutes away and that still doesn't happen, right?
Well, that is true, but it improves the chances, and it improves at least they know about the market.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, most people when they're doing that first meeting, obviously they're going to be trying to be as positive as possible, but you could ask them to ask about um, what's their worst deal, or what happened on one deal that you figured out a way to fix it later.
Yeah. Um, I had a question, but my mind just went blank. um,
That's okay. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that on every deal, so we know that even if you make money on a deal, that doesn't mean you can't improve it. So you could basically ask them, hey, tell me about one of your last deals and what's something you could have done to improve the deal.
yeah.
After
Oh,
seeing it, after learning. Good.
yeah. As a numbers guy, an underwriting guy, I always ask to see their underwriting.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no, and I mean, so I can dig deep into it. I mean, you and I have gone through underwritings. I don't even know how many we've gone through. But we used to do them, or actually, we still do them whenever we hold office hours for my
Coaching
underwriting
program.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
and but there are many times when I've asked to see underwriting, and the operator's like, "Well, it's in the pitch deck." It's like, no, it's not in the pitch deck. It's on slide 5 or slide 15 or whatever. And then I go to that slide and it has like maybe has what their expense ratio would be. It has like what it would be if I was a 100K investor, but it doesn't actually have the underwriting. You
Yeah, it
can't
doesn't show the
have it.
full underwriting. It shows like one snapshot of a piece
Yeah.
of the underwriting.
Yeah. And that is a turn off for me because it's like I like to dig deep into it. I mean, you and I both I go into each cell and like you choose your own adventure and I go make sure everything is calculated correctly and you'd be surprised how many times it's not. But it's like if you're making projections, I want to know how those projections are being made. And so that is a huge turnoff for me. I have invested in one deal where I asked for the underwriting and I didn't receive it. Um, but it was more so because I knew the operator very well. And if I didn't know the operator very well, I would never have invested. Um, so, I mean, and I was using my retirement fund, so I couldn't use that in my own deal, but I wanted to place it somewhere. So I did do it for that, but I probably wouldn't do that 8 out of 10 times. So,
Yeah. So another question I might ask is obviously in this environment, it's been a little tough with real estate lately. Tell me about the distributions that you have on different properties and what's going on with them. So, for example, if somebody asked me that question, I mean, I don't know how many deals I'm in right now. Let's just say nine. Out of the nine deals, probably only three or four are paying a distribution right now. We have paused distributions on a bunch of them. And people would ask me why, and I can get into specifics for each property because each property is a little different. You really want to be able to hear the answers and what they say. If they don't know why, that's a bigger problem. But so for example, the Idaho deal, what happened was is that when we did refi, we ended up giving a little too much back to our investors.
mm,
And besides that, the parking lot needed more work than we expected after refi. So the bank required us to do certain things, and there was definitely a misunderstanding about how much work the bank thought that we needed. So with that being said, we had budgeted, and they had approved the budget, about a $40,000 upgrade to the parking. And in the end, they had wanted like a $180,000 budget to the parking. So obviously, we had to pause distributions because we needed to get the parking done, or we would have broke our own mortgage. The good
yeah,
news is that property has a lot of equity, so we're in the process of selling it right now, and everybody's going to get a great return back.
okay, that's cool. Yeah, we've had to pause distributions on a few of our deals, but also I've been in a few deals where I'm getting distributions in month one, and so that's another thing. It's like, how are they doing distributions in month one? Are they over raising just to give you distribution, or is it actually coming from the cash flow? So I mean, these are all things that you need to consider.
So just to
And
pause you on that conversation, it's not all what you're saying is it's not always a green flag or amazing if they're paying distributions on month one if they over raised just to pay the distributions.
yep. So you need to understand basically the structure that they're doing, and if you're okay with paying a little bit more just to get some more money back sooner, I mean, that's okay. If you're willing to keep your money and not invest in that, I mean it all depends. Everybody invests for different reasons, so I can't say one way or the other if it's a good thing or a bad thing for you or in your specific case. But if you want me to help you understand it better, you can always look me up and we can go over a deal or whatever with you in more detail. So,
Well, I
um,
mean, one of the deals we have right now, our deal in Massachusetts, I mean, not only is it paying the full distribution, but we actually gave extra over the top bonus distributions this quarter, which is really amazing. I joked with them. I said, guys, I'm not used to this. It hasn't happened much lately. So it's a great situation on that. And like we say, every property is different, and that's why a lot of people do quarterly distributions. It's because some months are better than others, and it's hard to expect. I mean, when you underwrite, you're basically planning the entire situation of when you've owned it. So making the distributions quarterly versus monthly helps smooth out some of the problems some months.
Yeah. And also you want to ask them, and the operators are obligated to share this. It should be in the documents what their fee structure is like, and
Absolutely.
can they explain their fee structure. So I've seen some very convoluted fee structure when I've asked the operators about it. The ones that I asked didn't really know about it. They might have been co-sponsors where they're just raising capital and doing investor relations and doing like some minor role um, in the whole grand scheme of things, and so they don't even understand what the fee structure is, other than like, well, we get a 2% acquisition fee. It's like, all right, well, what's that acquisition fee on? Is it on like the total project? Is it on the property? Like the purchase price, or what is it? And then they have an asset management fee. What is that? Is that based off of the effective gross revenue, or is that based off of the equity that they've raised? Because I've seen both of them, and so there's you, you need to understand the fee structure and how everything is calculated. Um,
I was when you first said that, I was thinking you meant the waterfalls too. Just when some people get a little complicated on how they're distributing or what happens at the end of the deal. I personally like the easier the better on that stuff.
the the easier the better. Generally, I always say, I used to say a confused mind says no, but now I say a confused mind doesn't say anything at all, and that ultimately is a no. Um, but like if you confuse your investors, they're not even gonna know what questions to ask. They're just gonna kind of forget about it and move their own way. So
So another question you might ask is, how are they managing the property? Are they using third-party management, or are they doing everything vertically in their own companies? So it's funny now that I say this, the deals that I'm in with in-house property management on average are paying better than the ones with third party. And I'm not sure if that's a direct correlation or anything, but I just find it interesting.
I would say yes, it is a direct correlation, because I think when you hire a third party, there's going to be a lot of like charges and stuff in there that are probably not needed, that you're not going to do if you bring all the property management in house. Um, it's like, yeah, you might need a new computer in one of your complexes or something, but a new computer can be like $400 for what they need. They need to be able to access the internet, go to websites, do their lease, whatever. But they generally don't need like a big old high powerful CAD gaming system or whatever.
You mean like not the $1,400 that was on the budget?
No, like not like the 2000 or 2500
Is
that
that what
was on the
it
budget.
was?
Yeah, so I mean, you can get by with minimal. Honestly, I think, now granted iPads are a little bit more expensive, but you can get by with pretty much like an iPad, I think. Plus an iPad will let you walk around the property and still have access to it. If you have like Wi-Fi on the whole property, you get like a SIM card in the iPad or something like that. So that's why I'm thinking in-house management is one of the reasons why you get better returns. So
So
uh,
things one of the things I always think about is I'm thinking about social media as well. The concept that when people are trying to sell you a little too hard and everything's like, this is this amazing job we did, this is this amazing job we did, this is this amazing job we did. I want to hear some honesty in there. I mean, not every deal can be perfect, and I want to hear like some ways in which they've had problems. You know,
yeah,
if they're telling everything is too perfect, that's like it's. I almost feel like they're lying to me. You know.
yeah, yeah. And another question I always ask, and this has to be in there, is are they investing in their own deal, or are they only reaching out to find investors? Now, and this is where also the fee structure comes in handy, because if they are investing, say, 100K of their own money in the deal, and they are getting a 400K acquisition fee, to me, that's not skin in the game. It's like they just netted 300K right off the bat, and they get a percentage of the upside, but there's really no incentive otherwise. But if they invest 400K in the deal and they only get a 100K acquisition fee, then that is another thing. Also, a lot of times you'll say, well, I'm taking my acquisition fee and I'm rolling it into LP shares. Okay, I mean, that I've done, but I've also put in my own money on top of that as well. So, I mean, that's how I do my own deals. But if they don't do any of that, then I'm walking away.
You're preaching to the choir here. On a GP team, I'm a big fan of everybody putting something into the deal, their own financial interest as LP shares. It's almost an automatic. I usually get a bad taste in my mouth if people aren't doing that. And I mean, it's been tight sometimes. We've had liquidity issues. There was one deal that I ended up putting in money after we hadn't fully raised, and I did put in money, but the goal is to put in money on every deal, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
I was going to say, and I've put in money into a deal after the fact as well. Um, Even after I've invested in it, I still put in my own money to cover some expenses, but that's another podcast.
but no, I mean, think about it. It depends on the size of the deal too. But usually, you want a general partnership team that's putting 5 or 10% of the raise into the deal.
Right.
So if you're raising $2 million, which is not that big of a raise right now, um, the JP should be putting in at least 200,000 of that. Now,
Yeah,
if it's a bigger deal, if so, we're working on a deal right now. It's a 506C, so I can mention it. It's a $14 million raise. So that's a little tough to get GPs to bring 1.4 million. But like I said, if you're more at that 5% where you're bringing 700,000 or maybe $1 million, I mean that means something.
yeah. And I've actually seen loans or lenders require like the sponsor, the key principal to put in 10% of their own money. That's not just a GP team, but that's just
Just one person.
that one person. And and at the time, our key principal's like, no, I'm just going to sign on the loan. I'm not putting in my own money. Is like, well, okay, that means we are one, not going to move forward with you as a KP, or two, not move forward with that loan product.
You'll have
Ultimately,
to tell
we
me more about that story at some point. I haven't heard that one. Not now.
ultimately we moved away from both and went our separate ways in both regards. But yeah, that was one thing, because and I understand, it's like the lender doesn't want just some random guy who has a high net worth to sign on a loan and then not actually have any skin in the game themselves. So they wanted that person to have 10% down. And it might have been because it was a small market, it was a small deal, and they just wanted that person to be more involved in it than they were claiming they want to be. So
I think 10% is a lot for one person on the team, but reasonable for the team itself.
yeah. Um Also, I always like to ask, have they ever done a capital call? Or if they didn't do a capital call, sometimes they call it like, um, what kind of loan do they call it? I forget. But it's like they get a loan from their investors, and so they pay that back first before they start paying out the returns as for LPs. But sometimes they roll it in as a capital call, and then if you don't contribute, it dilutes your shares, and it just rolls out with normal LP money. So all sorts of different ways to navigate it, and you want to find out, one, if it's ever happened, and two, how did they navigate it.
So I don't consider a capital call right now to be the a death note or a kiss of death. A while ago it was. I do have friends that have had to do capital calls that I would still invest with again.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is that just because they've had a capital call doesn't mean they're an automatic no to ever invest with again. I mean, there's a difference between having a capital call because the property's not doing well and somebody literally stealing money.
Yeah. So, and you can have a property doing perfectly well, meeting its pro forma, except maybe taxes or insurance went higher than expected. So, I mean, you and I both have seen that. And then maybe, yeah, you need a capital call just to get over that little hump. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I have contributed to multiple capital calls and LP deals that I've been in. I've never had to, and this is November of 25, I've never had to make a capital call, but I don't know, I can't say for certain, but I'm going to do everything in my power not to. But I mean, that's what you want to look for is like, do they make, do they make capital calls? How do they structure it? And the reasoning behind how often do they do it, and how do they treat their investors if they contribute or not, you know.
I was
you
on
know
one deal where it was in Texas, and they had a massive water line break underneath one of the buildings, and this was during COVID. So yeah, what happened was is instead of doing a full capital call, they did a capital call within the GP itself, which was interesting.
yeah. And that's another thing that goes back to the skin in the game. Does the GP team, do they have enough reserves amongst themselves to handle any, I guess, financial shortages, or do they have to reach out to the investors? So um we're actually we're we're actually a pretty long episode now. We might have to break this up into another episode or two and make maybe a series of this. But I mean, I think we're what, maybe a third of the way through our list already.
Yeah, I mean that's a good part one
Yeah.
about what to look for when you're deciding who to invest with.
Yep. And this is investing your own hard-earned money or investing your reputation to be on the team, all of the above. So yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. This will be a part one. So if you like what you hear, you can continue listening. Look us up on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, ironcladunderwriting.com. And yeah, stay tuned for episode 2 in this little mini series. So thanks. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Ironclad Underwriting Podcast. If you got value from today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, rate, and share the show. And don't forget to connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or check us out at our website at ironcladunderwriting.com for more insights and updates. If you have a question, a deal you're analyzing, or a topic you want us to tackle, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your assumptions grounded, your models sharp, and your underwriting ironclad.